Okay, so for our first project, we're going to be thinking about the color wheel. But before we get into color, we're going to create a design by using Symmetry, okay, which goes to the principle of design of balance, okay, because Symmetry is all about balance because it's like the same on both sides. So each part is exactly the same, they're both equal, so it's balanced. This one we're going to focus on is radial symmetry because radial means a circle. So we're thinking about symmetry as it goes around a circle. Okay. So obviously we're kind of thinking of the color wheel a little bit already because of the circle, and we have the 6 parts for the 6 main colors we have here. So we're going to think of lines that will help create shapes, and we're going to think of a half of shapes. Okay, so what we're going to do with this, right, is I already took one piece out, and you'll get a piece that's going to be blank. I already started working on it, but I cut this part out. Okay, so it's the exact same size. And what I'm going to do is you're going to think of the lines and shapes that when you think that they're going to get flipped, they'll create a whole image, right? So like there's a half a diamond shape to create the rest of the diamond, a semicircle to create the other circle, like a half of a heart. You can think of other any like shapes you want to. And these were just lines that I drew through, but they'll be kind of interesting because as it goes around the circle, these lines will start to connect to create bigger shapes as well. So you could even just do, like, you don't do exactly shapes, like half shapes. If you just do lines that keep cutting across, then they will also make shapes too. And sometimes make some interesting designs you maybe weren't always expecting. Now notice I did not make any really tiny little lines, okay? So you don't want any, like doing like any other totally little lines like right here and a bunch of tiny little, like little tiny circles everywhere, okay? Because we're gonna be filling this in, we're using the lines, are gonna go over with glue eventually and chalk, and you're gonna need to have bigger areas. And that's kind of important to think about for painting, because painting, it's not with line and you can draw any bitty tiny lines. Like painting is a little bit more broader. You think about areas of color. So this will kind of help you start thinking about how from going from drawing to painting as well, because you need to think about the areas in between the lines and how those are going to be filled with color eventually. Okay, but first we're going to finish doing the design. So this one I already started doing just a little bit just to kind of get it started. So what you're going to do is when I took this and I flipped it over to match one of these. Okay, and I already started drawing on the back of it. But you don't want to just scribble on the back to do this, because you're going to keep flipping this paper over the whole thing. So these ones, because it's a thin paper, you can see through it. You're going to make your lines thicker, and you're going to want to really like press down. Don't like hurt the paper and don't hurt your fingers. But you're not just doing it really lightly like that where I can barely see the line. Like you're making very, add a lot of pressure to it. So I'm going to add pressure to the rest of these. And I'm really holding it down so this doesn't move, or else it's going to mess up the design underneath. Okay, so this is what that half heart that I had right here. So again, making sure it's lined up. And I'm just pressing down, make sure you have a really solid line. Like this. Okay, and that's why it's going to transfer. So that's what just transfers just from the pencil lead itself goes in here. Okay, so I had it like this, so it matches this, right? But remember, we're doing symmetry, so we're not just going to keep doing this the same, because then these are not going to. You see how this is not going to match up. Okay, so what we're going to do is you're going to flip it, and then already you can start seeing how the symmetry, like the radial symmetry, is working. Okay, so even though I'm drawing on this side, what's transferring is what's actually on the back. Okay, but you have to keep tracing over your lines so it actually will work out. So just try to make sure it's lined up. It may not always be exactly perfect how things line up, especially if you make your lines really like too broad, then they might be a little wonky. But as long as you match it up and just hold the little piece of paper down as you're doing it so it doesn't move around on you and mess up your design. But this is all with pencil, so if you do happen to do the wrong side or mess up, you can just erase it. this is our practice paper first, and then this will all get transferred onto our final paper. So if you're gonna make a mistake or want to change your mind about your design, now would be the time. So if you start doing this and you realize you don't like it, then you can always, then now is the time to change it. Or if you like it, you know, then you can have to. So then just make sure that you transferred all the lines. Okay, so that's another reason why too, you don't want to do too many lines, and you're gonna get confused about which ones you just did. Then you're gonna forget some. So I want to just do one here. So I had it this way. I'm flipping it, and again, you'll see from on the back side that it should match up. So if it doesn't match up, then you know that you're accidentally transferring the wrong side. So if I did it this way, obviously that's not gonna match up. That's not gonna be right. Okay, but you see how those extra lines that I drew is already starting to make almost like this interesting star shape too. So just doing a bunch of different lines will be really interesting. So I'm just gonna keep doing this until I do all the way around. Just make sure you flip and go over all your lines. Again, they may not match, like this heart right here is not matching up 100%. You can go in and kind of just fix that a little bit. It's just from things moving around, and you know, maybe this paper wasn't cut exactly correct. But once we add, like I said, that we're gonna put this on our final paper and the glue and chalk and everything, things are gonna change by that point. So we just wanna get the overall parts, and I do all of them. So if you're not sure, just check. So like this part didn't really transfer right there. So I'm gonna match it back up and just go over that part some more. Okay. Or like you can see that that part's just gonna be there. You can just kind of just draw that part in. It's just really to making sure that you don't want to just draw the whole thing in yourself, because it won't be perfectly symmetrical. But if there's little pieces and parts, you could just kind of go in and touch up, you know, if it didn't quite finish transferring. Okay, so that's half of it. I'll finish the rest of it and show you the completed version.